Hello, welcome to Owen and Prince Chat D&D number 17, the most special of numbers. I'm told by the voices in my head.
Only
Tonight we will
divisible
be
by itself, Owen.
yeah,
By one.
indeed. Prime numbers are the best one. Tonight we're designing a Werewolf the Apocalypse adventure.
Oh no!
No. Tonight we're designing a Dungeons and Dragons adventure. That's right.
Yay!
Yeah, yay! We're designing. I think we concluded. We went through a few options, and we may not finish what we're planning to do tonight. We'll see how it goes. We're going to design a dungeon level is the plan for Dungeons and Dragons, and I think we said the level range was going to be 3rd to 5th level. So good mid-level, upper low to mid-level adventure of the core gameplay. And neither of us would. I mean, Prince is a successful adventure designer, but neither of us would claim to be the single best designer of adventures ever. But I think a major thing is probably most DMs with a brain can design something better than OSR slop. This is proof that you can in 2 hours design most of stuff you'll need that will cover you several sessions. I think is probably
That's right,
the theory.
and we're just going to go at it.
That's the plan.
It'll be a little bit experimental, and if this fails,
Yep.
we'll delete the video.
Yeah.
No one will ever know.
we'll say the Russians hacked us.
we'll do 10 more attempts, and
Yeah.
it'll look very polished. No, but before we get started, Owen, what's your usual approach to like designing adventures?
There's kind of a couple of ways it works for me, and I guess they're connected. Obviously, one is not designing an adventure; it's just using a pre-made thing and making a couple of notes on adapting it to fit it into my game, because I run campaigns pretty much exclusively, so I need to fit stuff in. And yeah, that's obviously kind of a different discussion in itself. But otherwise, whether it's improv at the table, which is very pressed, or time between sessions, which is quite pressed because I don't have loads of time. It's a case of I have this book and a Word file, usually the elements, and there is actually some Appendix A jottings on that page. I just draw maps and write lists of rough keys. This one, I'll get this. This map is a. Is that showing up okay? Is a
crawl?
It's a tree. Yes, it's not a point crawl. It is room to room, but it's a tree. It's underneath the tree.
Is it 5 rooms, Owen?
It is. No, well, it's an enormous dungeon crawl of 5 rooms.
Flower, yeah. No, but that's totally fine.
Yeah. And all you can see on the side is those are like 1 word per room entry or whatever. That's usually like what encounter it is.
And then I'll write that mimetic to sort of like clue you back in. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I will write that up into Word. That adventure, by the way, the Great Willow, is on my Patreon. But yeah, that's my kind of weird Fiend Folio inspired one, where I was like, most of the creatures here are going to be Fiend Folio or Monster Manual too. Weird things to show they're usable. Good. Yeah. And I think that's the general process is, and then that will iterate, obviously, and especially if it's something I'm intending I might put out in a I give to other people, like via the Patreon or via the old blog, then obviously I will take into account what's happened when we've played it as well. So that's more or less me. Is the quick version is draw a very quick map, put like 1 word on each room. The long version is type it into Word as notes with detail.
Nice. Well, I mean, during my regular game, I actually use a lot of like pre-made material that I've reviewed previously. And I guess when I write myself, my process is a bit more involved. It's like more what is it, the artisanal dungeon. So I won't use any generators. I just kind of like I have a few strong concepts, and then you fill that in. So this is going to be a nice exercise for me as well. I mean, I've done this sort of stuff before, but definitely not that much during my regular game.
I was going to say, there's some stuff that I will pretty much always do, as in, if I know what, occasionally I obviously can. I'm not doing any improv. I'm just starting from. I have this concept because the players have said they're going somewhere, and I'd love to just do loads of pre-made maps and loads of Wonder Draft maps or whatever else. But obviously, you're like the time sometimes between in a sandbox, players picking something out of many options. And actually, you having the opportunity to do stuff. Just hello, Jez. And the time you get to play. can be quite short, so you just have to kind of make it up as you go along. But if I have more time, I might add a bit more thought into it. But even then, I tend to use certain random tables. I tend to use Donjon's treasure generator, not as something that I have to follow, but something that gives me, oh, that would be a good hoard. It just gives me ideas outside myself, or whatever. Donjon also has an NPC generator, which I've used once in play, but I mostly use the treasure generator. So I use a few tape, and that's based on the DMG. So I do
Well,
yeah.
I mean, when you run, you kind of I like when you're going to make something that like other people are going to use, you're kind of showing off a little bit more. You kind of want to present it nice, so that's like it makes sense, right? That you would go the extra mile. But actually, when you run games, you kind of notice even if you have material that's like it's like average or something, like if you know how to DM just a little bit and the structure is okay, that's usually just fine. So presumably the goal of this experiment will be to show like, oh, okay, like it doesn't need
This
to be
is
like Shakespeare.
adequate.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I would say you've said you use lots of pre-made material. I think there's a good general
Right.
principle there of like, I think sometimes people exaggerate. Even good wise people will be like, oh, loads of stuff won't fit your campaign. And actually, you find the more you run, I think it's the opposite. Like you tend to find like something can fit in here. There's so much stuff that is decent. And you can,
I mean, I guess if you start fucking around with really like sort of like fundamental assumptions of the game, and you start screwing around with that, you get into
it gets harder.
Like but usually you should be able to fit it in, sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, and certainly the more distinctive a setting. So Dark Sun, with Dark Sun, what we ran like 3 major adventures. One of which I used a city guide to Waterdeep for, but it was a ruin, and then the other 2 I wrote completely from scratch. And that's because Dark Sun is so much more specialist. Whereas other stuff, like I'll run whatever, and it like I'll run stuff from material quite happily. Dark Sun has some of its own adventures that are just not very good. So yeah, our very high-tech solution. After discovering that StreamYard, it has a share screen
tool,
option. But it doesn't have a point to object screen option. It just has a share screen option, which is probably not the best idea.
If we were probably for the next time, maybe one of us could have the map and the other one just talks. Maybe that will work. But we'll try this one for sure.
Yeah,
that's as everybody can see, that's Owen's very dirty table, I should say.
Yeah. It's not even dirty. It's just got like old stickers on it and stuff.
Stains, weird nameless liquid stickers.
Yeah, things that are best not to ask about. Yeah, best not to ask about.
Yes.
We did actually have this a second ago. It's like a really good pitch, wasn't it? A pitch in your.
It is a good pitch. There we go. It's getting closer.
It's getting closer.
Yes. We can almost see.
Almost see.
So
yeah, almost see the piece of paper.
This is a page of paper, which signifies
this is very high tech
possibility.
Yeah,
that's right.
Can you see?
That's
can
how
you see?
Old people used to draw.
So what we used to do is room 1, and here is room 2. So here's our dungeon for tonight, Prince.
No, it needs 3 more. Okay, it needs. You need to have it needs to be a square, and then there needs to be 1 secret door. Okay.
The secret door has nothing behind it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or it has all the treasure behind it. There are 2 options.
So obviously, doors. Okay, we're gonna. Okay, you're not going to do it abstract. I hope. I hope you're going to use exact measurements.
Yeah, exact measurements. I was going to say, we're at NASA levels in the sense. Did anyone read that great story about Voyager? I think it was about Voyager where they fixed Voyager.
About Star Trek Voyager.
Star Trek Voyager. I think is Voyager 2. They fixed it by like getting all the old people out and getting all the old code books out, and obviously it's like enormous amounts of information for 16 bits or 8 bits or something.
Right.
Like vast amounts, like terabytes of information to just describe this this 8-bit computer. They sent this radio signal. We're at that level tonight. It is terabytes of information to draw squares on this piece of paper.
So do we generate first, or do we begin with the concept first and then kind of like
well, this was our discussion. This was something we were discussing. Here is my DMG. The story behind this is when I was a wee lad in my early teens at a war games club, which had been very welcoming to me. I wasn't an annoying child, so they didn't mind. There was like a mostly serious historical one with a tolerance for Warhammer. when I was
Now it's
there
Warhammer Club, but there's one
is
table for historical
you're
wargaming.
you're not even joking. No, that is actually the case.
Yeah, of course.
Naturally, the world has grown old, I think, hasn't it? In about like it's moved on in the Dark Tower sense of
Moved on.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we yeah. I had a bunch of these books. A guy was moving to America, and for like 15 quid, so about 20 euros, just gave me. I think he had loads of old lead miniatures, like Napoleonics. He just was never going to use, so that was fine. And then I got the DMG Monster Manual and Monster Manual 2 as part of that in about 2000, something like that. Yeah, great days. So yeah, we can just roll on the monster level table, if we like.
That's to generate the content.
Monster level 4.
Do we
Yeah.
what do you call that? Do we
could
just
roll a monster
populate
level
and then
4.
extrapolate the purpose just retroactively what kind of a place this is? I guess we could do that.
Yeah, that we could do it that way. That because I was saying to Prince beforehand, one thing that happens that causes me to have to write stuff on the fly, especially, is just rolling an encounter and having to write a layer quickly is a very common thing. Like, and the layer might be very small, or frankly, you generate like there's 80 bugbears who live there. Well, it's not small, but you have to keep it simple because you can't write out 100 rooms of bugbears.
No, that's why you can use
Yeah.
whatever 5 rooms, like the chieftain and maybe like his harem have a separate chamber.
Yeah, and there's just like some
communal
huts.
living
There's just some
space
huts
and
or something. Yeah, they all
exactly.
and the huts could be technically more complicated than a room, but they need to be meaningfully more
No, I
complicated.
concur.
Because you're often saying to players, you go into this hut, they say we search it, and you're like, there are several small rooms, but they're not very big, and you don't find anything, or you find this one thing. That's perfectly simple.
Sure.
So monster level, if we go monster level 3, 29 would be character. Monster level 4, it would be gargoyle. And monster level 5, it'd be lucrota.
Okay.
So what do we think? 29. So gargoyle, lucrota, character.
Gargoyle. We're going to make a dungeon, correct? Not a lair.
Yep. Yes. Okay, we were talking 20 to 30 rooms or something like that.
Exactly. Okay. Do we draw the map first?
And well, we can talk about what we want from that, because what I will often do, and I imagine you'll do when absolutely pressed to it as well, is I will draw out a kind of like, okay, what are some nice looking shapes? By the way, mapping, Dyson Logos is more right about mapping than people admit, including our good friend Gabalux. I'm sure Gabal would agree with this. Actually, I'm joking. Is that sometimes you just put shapes down on a piece of paper with connections between them, and that is a completely okay basis for a map.
He started smushing everything together, which I'm not a big fan of. Like you kind of removed corridors, and like you need doors to listen at and all that stuff, hallways.
Oh yeah, no, I actually agree. I'm kind of, but what I mean is when people are like, the problem with Dyson stuff is I'm not sure what this is meant to look like or whatever else. You're like, no, probably as long as the rooms actually connect, it's fine. That's not the problem is that sometimes they don't work very well as dungeon maps.
Would this be the first room, Owen?
Yeah.
Because in that case, you could maybe
is it a cave? Is it a
no?
Is it a
it's
dungeon
like
or a cave?
If it's gargoyles, it has to start with like maybe it's like a sort of like nave of like a temple. Yeah. I don't mean
a ruined
like
upperworks.
A nave of
ruined
nave of like some sort of temple, right? And then you can have a bunch of statues, and in between all of the statues, you put real gargoyles.
Yeah. So the upper works, is it ruined temple then, if there's going to be something beneath it, or are we going up? Which way are we going?
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see where the content takes us, where this exactly, where it will...
Yeah. So in that case, I mean, for the upper works, the whatever, for now, I guess we want like a, what? Is it going to look like a cathedral? Maybe it could be.
I'm assuming just like in ancient Rome, right? That probably this is underneath maybe a city. It's easily accessible, and then there's like different layers of different cities that have kind of like been smushed in there, right? And then maybe periodically people excavate as well, like into that into these undercrofts, and they build down and so on and so forth. So architectural nightmare. But we begin with like some sort of like nave,
Yeah.
You can have like funky statues. Now that I think about it, right? This is the first room, right? And a lot of people forget, like with a dungeon, generally the first rooms, that's like the first impression you get. You can kind of like put something memorable down there.
Yeah,
It can kind of
yeah,
telegraph what kind of a place it's going to be.
yeah. So something like this, the players, maybe they found a breach in the kind of the the substrate above or whatever, and they can come down into the room then.
Sure. Or they've found the password or the key to the doors that open
Door.
this section
This
of the
particular
hall.
temp.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. And then we've got an octagon at the end, and we've got like a passage into, like as a
Yes.
processional going
Yes.
forward. There's the processional. There's the
Okay.
octagon.
Are
So
we
that's
are we
it's
nice? Do
one
we
or two rooms
telegraph
depending on how you want.
danger, or do we let something
Well, what you can of course do. I mean, is it that um yeah? Do you want to have this be straight into action versus like combat versus gargoyles, or do you want to trail the fact like here in this room? You're just trailing the fact in the kind of the upper area of this temple. There's
Okay.
loads of gargoyles. Like there's literally like 1,000 gargoyle statues or
I
something.
suggest faking them out by first having a shit
Mm.
ton of gargoyle statues, which will
Mm-hmm.
all be fake, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then, near the end at the nave, then you hit them with the real ones, right? Like so.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
the 1,000 gargoyle statues are in there in this section here, like one,
Or
and
20 or 25. Yeah, 1,000 is a
yeah,
lot, but sure, like a
yeah.
lot. Okay, yeah.
8 million. It's
Yeah.
the
It's
population of
six
Denmark.
million gargoyle statues. That's
Yeah,
right.
there's like 100 statues on like multiple tiers. Like you look up and they're in the clerestory up here and stuff, and you can just see like so there's like 10 gargoyles per pillar, and then they're all up in the clerestory up above,
All right.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will. Yes. Yeah. You can have big ones. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Pretty good.
yeah,
Maybe
and presumably we
ask.
want we probably want some distance this way, just so players have to think about the fact there's all these gargoyles, right?
Sure.
So this needs to be like 50 feet or something, as in they're probably
It needs to
taking
be high. I agree.
yeah,
Yes.
and I was going to say 50 feet long, and then upwards, like I'm trying to think, yeah, like 80 feet tall or something,
Yeah.
like that, yeah,
Beyond the range of your torchlight is always like such a
yeah,
doozy. That's like always
yeah, yeah.
fucked up if you then put creatures in the rafters.
So yeah, you walk in, and
Yes.
they're walking in along here, and the first thing they see, first turn, they stop presumably here, and they're going to see loads of gargoyles, and they're going to see the room goes up, and then they're going to work out some form of light to get up there. Maybe they probably could anyway. They're fourth level average. They probably could look up, and they'll realize
Or
there's just more
climb. Sure.
gargoyles. There's
Yeah.
just more gargoyles up there. And
Okay.
then they go along. They then move along a turn, and they find the same. There's just loads of gargoyles. And then they move along again, and there's just loads of gargoyles. But then it opens out into this space.
So, how many gargoyles are we talking about here? It'll be
Well, I
one.
think, yeah. It's like one crippled gargoyle who tells them a riddle.
Is one with minimum hit points. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But yeah. Will we? You want to randomly generate them?
Yeah, we
Let's
certainly
go.
can. Are they a monster manual? I believe.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've got the MM open. I just came out of a game, so let's see.
Yeah.
All right.
Gar.
Normally we would be sharing this on a screen. It would be interactive
well, no,
as
look, we
hell.
can look at this interactive
We're doing
screen.
it acoustically.
Look, it says 2 to 16. 2 to 16.
That's great. Go hit it. 2d8.
Yeah,
we're doing it live.
Yeah, everything is authentic on this channel. We're not like those fake channels. I don't know which channels are fake.
All of them. Go.
6,
So 6,
8. There are
okay.
8.
All right, it's pretty good.
So so you've already had this weird thing where for 2 turns or something they've been walking along. 3 turns even.
It's a long time. I don't know how large this room is, but it's fine. So
well, no,
okay,
as
we'll
if
have
if it's 50 feet and they are exploring and touching stuff, then they're probably moving at 30 feet a turn. So that's what I'm saying, like 2 or 3 turns. If it's 50 feet long.
Sure.
Okay. Do we want anything else in this section? Like, do we want I should say before we get to the real gargoyles, do we want pillars with art, decoration, and art on these that could in some way tell people?
What I was thinking
what's
about
happening?
is like you have so you'd have all the stone gargoyles everywhere, and
all
then
these
in the
fake
center
yeah,
you'd maybe have like a few, whatever, like a stonemason's workbench, maybe, like, and then like a
As
couple of
if
stone
the whole thing
gargoyles
hadn't been
there.
finished.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then the actual gargoyles in the rafter. I think that's nice. Okay, all right, and
Workbench
all right,
with unfinished. And then,
yeah.
do we think up in this room there's real gargoyles, or are they in 2 here? Are they in
Uh,
1 or 2?
yeah, they're in two with the whatever is
Yeah.
the
So
near the
yeah,
near the tools. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And then coming, yeah, the attack with surprise from the rafters, I guess, is
yeah,
probably a good way to start.
yeah. I was going to say, well, the workbench, it also has ornate tools, so it's just weird. I think you get there and they're not just like a hammer and a chisel. They're like scrolled weird, black-handled objects. So your player's like, okay, this seems to be a workbench, but they're obviously weird here. Great.
Okay. Yes.
So
Now it
here
needs treasure.
they're now in the
They'll just be trying to
shrine.
attack, right?
They're in
Yeah.
the shrine. So 8 gargoyles attempt surprise.
Sure.
Which we will they would get surprise.
Do you pre-roll all your surprise like that?
No, I don't. I actually tend to get, controversially, I just get players to roll surprise because it's funny.
Yeah, yeah, probably. Like I wouldn't pre-roll because the thing is that
No.
they you maybe have an elf or whatever, some sort of
Oh yeah.
reconnaissance. So that's
Well,
fine.
you could no, you can, to be fair, you can roll the range of things you need if you do that. You can be like,
Exactly.
yeah, but I'd say the point is that in terms of player engagement, I just think that the fact that you can say to players, you enter this room, someone rolls surprise, or if they've not taken any precautions, because players will sometimes say, we listen, we throw a stone with light cast on it into the room, but in this case, if they just walk straight in, then you're going to just ask them to roll surprise. I think that's just a fun thing. Like, players enjoy that.
Sure.
Or don't,
What do we do
yeah.
with treasure type probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can just check treasure type.
Yeah. Gargoyle treasure type is M times 10 and C in lair. So
Okay.
and go and find that.
That's for
fine.
individuals. Okay.
Yeah,
So it
that's
would
for
be
individuals.
C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
C and
layer. Okay. Well,
yeah.
let's try it out.
I mean, yeah, you can roll the M and assume that, but you can just also roll that in. Obviously, given they are in this is presumably their layer. You kind of assume. Where is that? Is treasure. That is special rules. So I've got the treasure list here. What is the treasure type M? Where am I going to find that?
Should be all the way in the back.
Treasure type. Treasure placement of 91 to 93. It's in the middle. Turns out that is just placement of monetary treasure.
No, treasure type shouldn't be there. Shouldn't be in there.
No, it's not.
I was thinking monster manual even. Like it's in the monster manual all the way at the end.
No, I was thinking that I was thinking I had a vague memory. In 2E, the same tables are in the DMG.
Right.
Which is a sensible place actually for them to be. I can see it both ways, but I find it simpler to do it that way. Treasure tables. So treasure type C is the layer we said, wasn't it? So there's a chance of copper, a chance of silver, a chance of platinum or electrum, a chance of gems, chance of art objects, and chance of magical item. I was going to say, Jez does ask, is there something on the workbench that affects gargoyles?
We're going to find out.
I guess that's
probably what we would want to do is generate most of it just randomly, and then see if you can add a few custom effects and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, indeed. Make stuff that is okay. So 20% for copper, no copper. 30% for silver, no silver.
Lord. Okay.
That is 002. There is platinum or electrum. 25% for gems. 47. No. Art objects 20%. No. These gargoyles don't have anything, man.
Exactly.
And 52 for magical item. So I think we're within our rights to add something to that. So there is some platinum.
Scrawniest horde. Okay.
Yeah. It's 1d6 times 10. So there's 100 platinum. That is, to be fair, pretty good. Like 1,000 gold. But there's nothing else. So we probably want
500 in AD&D, I think.
No. It's it'll presumably be the same as
Nope.
it will be 1d6
A
times
platinum
10.
piece is worth 5 times a gold piece in
Oh
AD&D.
yes, no, of course you're right. Yeah, because the gold piece is worth twice the amount. Because it's worth 20 silver, 500. So yeah, that's 100 platinum, or we'll call it. So it's going to be 50 platinum. There we go.
Where do we place it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Where are the gargoyles keeping their stuff, or why is this here? And if there is a special item of some other kind, where is it? What do
Well,
we think?
if there's a special item, like say, if you had you could have a magical, what is it, artisan's hammer or something like that,
Yeah.
or a chisel that's an enchanted chisel that you can roughhouse and use as a dagger +1, then it would be on the workbench. But if it's just platinum pieces, which is also just fine, I'm always thinking like, if the gargoyles, probably, if it's like a high ceiling, they probably have their, because they can fly, they probably have their lair up in the air. So then on a ledge you can
Yeah.
you can have it over
Up
there.
on kind of the window frame, so they're all nesting on the window frames, or they're not going to be windows. But you know what I mean, like up on the
Maybe
frames and
they've
rafters.
stone carving tools, right? They can just chisel
Yeah,
out like a couple
yeah,
of like a
yeah,
crude lair where they. And I don't know if gargoyles would have nests,
yeah,
or something of the like. Presumably, it would at least have some tasty morsels, some bones, right? Some
yeah,
rotting, tattered cloak, and
yeah.
and again,
So yeah,
the
get some flavour in there. Tattered cloak, bones. So yeah, in amongst the bones and the tattered cloak, they have 50 platinum or 100 platinum, depending on your system. Up on the rafters, and then there is a magic chisel +1.
A chisel +1, it doesn't, yeah, no, but it's what is it, yeah, like an enchanted chisel that can be used as a dagger +1, yeah, right,
Yeah,
or
so that
something,
is in the,
yeah, and
and
then you
that
can
is
add
that,
an effect that you can
yeah,
maybe like you can cut through stone quicker if you have to
yeah,
think about that. You can tunnel faster or something like that.
yeah, tunnel, yeah, that's something
Really obscure, but
you could
sure.
obviously work out the actual stats mass of that upon reflection. But the basic gimmick here, when you're drawing it out, is that you're like, it's going to be able to make them tunnel faster. It's almost as if they have like a spade. It's not a spade of colossal excavation. It won't be as good as that, but it'll be that kind of thing. So yeah, and that's with the ornate tools. So the players see the ornate tools, and some of them are thinking they're probably just tools. Unless someone uses detect magic, they blow a spell, and they find out there's a magic dagger there that has a special effect.
Yeah, or somebody's just like, well, these things look valuable enough. Let's just take
Yeah,
them. We'll see.
yeah.
And
No, that's
yeah,
cool. So yeah,
okay.
okay. So the
Number one.
players can go up and they can get the stuff from the gargoyle layer. That is it's a small challenge, but by fourth, fifth level, by fifth level they can fly, can't they? But and they probably shouldn't waste on this. But
They
the
have a
point is
thief.
they have a
They should be
thief who
able
can
to.
climb surfaces,
Yeah.
and who can also be roped up and stuff. Whatever else. They can grapple. They can grapple the ledge. In fact, a grappled ledge.
Or they don't find it.
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
All
but
right.
the point is, you need to make sure they can get the treasure. It's not like some ridiculous punishment. The treasure is not there to punish the players.
Well,
But it's yeah. So this is easy treasure, and actually it's quite cool treasure. But it's something the players may not recognize as treasure immediately. And this treasure, the platinum, is good treasure, but it's a bit harder to get. How do they get out of this section? This kind of weird shrine that doesn't seem to have much in it. Is the shrine itself, is number 2? Does that have anything else in it? Is it like
how about a portal to across from? I mean, as in
yeah,
a normal door, right? Like that. Like how about putting a door in there and then
so
going
yeah,
to
there's
some
just
sort of cross
there's a
section?
shut door. There's a shut door here
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something down at the
And then
bottom.
I always love the beginning in B1, a
Mm-hmm.
search of the unknown,
Yep.
where immediately after the magic mouths, the players have like 6 different ways to go. So how about we begin our level like that and just immediately give people a lot of options?
As in, so what? As in, just put it on all the sides of the octagon, kind of like this.
No,
Or
lead them
have it.
out of the octagon with one
Yeah.
doorway, and then lead them to a sort of like cross section of corridor.
Oh yeah. So there's a short
We could probably
corridor.
do this randomly, but we probably shouldn't. Like, I
No,
feel
no.
like if
I
we
was going
do
to
this
say,
completely
I
randomly,
think
it'll suck. Yeah,
Appendix A. I do use
yeah.
Appendix A for some things.
Hmm.
I like Appendix A. It has stocking tools, things like that, that can be quite
Nice.
kind of fun for inspiration. But
Yes.
I don't think. I think if you're desperate, you could absolutely use it, and it works. And we know it works as a generation tool for maps. but I think you're usually going to have more fun if you're designing stuff. If you, yeah. So yeah, that's going back to 2, and then is it going to be like a crossroads or another octagon or something like that? Is this a place full of octagons?
Let's do an 8-pointed star. That always goes over well. And then in the center, we put a statue.
I'm drawing an octagon for simplicity here, but yes.
Okay.
I think the idea this is like
you're rejecting my idea. I will attempt to contain my rage.
But
this is
shaking. Yeah.
Always,
I'm not drawing a star.
You're always sabotaging my grand design.
Yeah. So, yeah. There's a statue in the middle. This is room 3, I guess. And the statue. What is the statue of?
Well, it's a good question. Well, since we're going with some sort of vaguely religious theme, then presumably the statue would be of one of possibly several deities or saints or whatever chthonic servants, right? That are worshipped in this place, and presumably you can even make the statue magical.
Yeah. So with that would then be a bit of a not a gimmick encounter. I'm trying to think
there's a cool ass table, I think, even in AD&D that you can use to generate random statues. Let's do that.
Let's see. Okay, so this is going to be back in the appendices, isn't it? So
is
it just going to be in random
appendices?
Is it going to be random dungeon generation on one of the subtables under that?
I will. I've just assumed it existed, and I will now check.
Yeah, you're making stuff up. Trick/trap. Gas subtable. Yes. That is if you've had a curry.
We have a friend called Pizza Ready. He would love the gas subtable.
Yeah.
He would absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Chamber or room contents. I was going to say we've got treasure is guarded by, treasure is hidden by /in. So we have like special things that are hiding stuff.
Maybe it's in the PHB even. Ooh, could this be? Yeah, no. No, there's definitely tables for the generation of like these random effects.
There's tricks and traps. There's a tricks and traps table.
Correct. Should be.
We can check. We'll try the tricks and traps table. That is, I think, under random generation as well. As I think it's under Appendix A.
The more you learn. Okay.
We need a graphic. Like the more you learn.
The less.
So trick/trap. Yeah, indeed. It is a D20.
Okay.
So that is a 3. The trick/trap is a secret door unless unlocated.
It doesn't work. We need a statue.
No.
There are magic statues in there. You have to look again.
Prince doesn't even know this. He's just like, statues. Look for the statues. There must be.
It's under. I mean, there's dungeon dressing. That's for sure. But I feel I'm close.
Okay. Random wilderness terrain. Random monster encounters. Random generation of creatures from the lower planes. Traps, tricks, dungeon dressing. Appendix I. We think is that what we're going for?
No. Oh dear. Really blanking on it. It definitely exists. I know that.
So there's unexplained sounds and weird noises, clothing and footwear, food and drink, condiments and seasonings.
We need condiments and seasonings, and we need
magic user furnishings, religious articles and furnishings. What about under tricks? What about under traps?
Okay, we do have magic pools here.
Which page?
Not statues. Damn.
Which page?
Oh, that's all. It's all 172. So that's is a trick and trap and like that sort of stuff. I thought it was more. Oh.
No. Lakes, random lakes as well. Yeah.
Cool. Oh damn.
Okay. Okay. So
I have one more idea, and if that doesn't work, we'll have to use our own creativity, which is always the worst. And I hate it. I can't.
Okay. Well,
okay.
I was going to say while we're doing that, I'm going to say we want an odor. We'll have a 24 odor, which is a dank, moldy smell. So the statue has a dank, moldy smell.
Oh, it smells dank and moldy. Damn. Okay. Well, now.
Yeah. Yep. So, okay. What is the magical effect of this?
Okay. I'm
Is
thinking
it a
Owen,
trap?
and I
Is
I
it?
recall. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Does it give you a warning? Is it? Because here you've been through the sort of outer sanctum, and now you're heading into the octagonal, 8-pointed inner areas. Is it giving a warning?
I feel like probably it would have to be some sort of. First of all, it would have to be some sort of ominous deity, obviously a deity
Yeah.
of evil.
Yeah. Statue
Right.
of garbage god.
For
I don't mean like,
example. For example,
yeah, like
yes.
rotting. He's like rotting and disgusting. That's why there's a
And
dank, moldy smell.
if it's a god of like baleful aspect,
Yeah,
again, yeah, an enchanted statue. Will this be will it be a riddling one, or will it attack if you take a certain action? Let me think. I mean, there's so many options to
it
go
can just
by.
give
I
you. It
really
could be
do
a
want to do
warning.
it
It could be a
randomly.
warning statue. It could be a warning statue, couldn't it? Like it could be giving you some hint about what's if we have like I mean, let's say, I mean, are we gonna have 8 doors here? Are we gonna have one off
We're
each
gonna have
start
eight
each point?
corridors. That's right.
But not all of them have to be real, as in some of these could be dead end, like immediate dead
Oh,
ending.
okay, that's okay. I like that.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what? You could have a riddle in there
yeah.
on
Riddle
the
that
statue, and
tells you
then
which ones are the good
yeah,
ones.
like one or two of these corridors are not only dead ends, but have some deadly trap. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
he
that.
should say
Sure.
that. He says, "Look, if there are 3 doors and you open 2, the goat is behind the third, or something like that."
What? Get out of here.
Yeah,
It's your English trickery. All
yeah.
right.
Hey,
That sounds like a good idea.
the perfidiousness of the Anglo-Saxons.
Indeed. Well, their
Um,
endless trickery never cease.
by the way, this is something that lots of our mostly Anglo-Saxon audience, or Germanic, if it's Gritzy,
Yeah,
audience
of
just
course.
won't get, is that it turns out like large parts of the world think that like the kind of prevailing feature of the Anglo-Saxons is that they're they're tricksy.
That's correct.
Um, yeah,
They see. They
that is our
finally they have
reputation.
it figured out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, on Russian TV, when they talk about like Britain and America, it'll be like the Anglo-Saxons, shaking their fist. So yeah, so what we want to say is how many are real corridors? That's probably the most important question. I mean, we can roll a d8 if we want, but we can also just determine it. How many are real corridors that go somewhere good?
D8 it.
3 are good. That doesn't mean all of the rest are traps. It could mean, like here's a concept. It's all 8-pointed stuff, but essentially these are at some level the 4 chaos gods, right? Warhammer 4 chaos gods. They don't actually have to be literally those, but there's some sort of way in which there's 4 aspects to this god or something.
Go
And
for it. Sounds
this
good.
garbage guy is his harbinger. Like he's like that one ghost from Ghostbusters. He's like the harbinger, and he's disgusting. And at some level, so 4 of these are going to be viable and have something useful in them. 3 are corridors. One is like, one could be a keyed magic key door, couldn't it? 4 of them are either dead ends or traps. One of them is a
Yeah,
magic keyed.
or some area
Yeah,
to like
yeah,
a leading into a
danger.
hazardous area
Yeah,
that doesn't quite have a
yeah,
lot of stuff going on. And yeah, of course.
yeah. So I'm just gonna. These could be moved around. I think this is the kind of thing you're going to sometimes work out as you design. You'll be like, actually, they need to be in a different format. But for the purpose of coming up with a level, this is going to be fine.
For the
So we want to have 4 that are not leading anywhere. Super exciting. 1 goes back there, and we'll say that this one is going to a special area, but that is locked. So this one is locked up here.
So the 4 that are actually good, like the 4 that are normal, should ideally
1 goes
lead
back.
into the
So
dungeon complex
yeah,
proper,
yeah.
right?
So
Like,
yeah, one
because they
goes.
should be
Well,
connected
one is
further. It
going
shouldn't
back.
just be
One is
yeah.
going back.
Sure.
So one is going back. One is going to special area, and then we've got that means 2 routes into the main dungeon complex. That we can always increase that. We could always turn one of the trapsy ones into another entrance into the dungeon complex, if we want. We could have 3 entrances into the dungeon complex. What do we think?
Sure.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I don't mind. I'm just kind of okay, we'll turn that one in. And we obviously, this is the kind of thing we're not going to necessarily detail all of this now, are we? Just getting the. So you've got 3 ways in, 1 way back, 3 ways forward, and then there are 4 that are dead ends or traps or tricks. One of which is basically good but requires a key, and then one of which is just, let's say that is a dead end. That's just going to require, basically the thing with this, I think, is it just requires you, we're in the Undercity, your 4th level, you can't just kind of cheat out light completely trivially. So you go this way and you spend like 20 minutes walking down a corridor, but there's nothing there. That's just a time wasting
you move
corridor.
at. I'm sure you have continual light, presumably, maybe, but sure, it's fine. It's not going to be a huge deal. Let's go for like, I don't know. With one we put a bunch of pit traps in there, and then maybe one with an illusion. One that ends in like a illusion. Can put some nice treasure there, but then of course put a pit trap in there, or a crushing block trap, something like that.
The pit traps could have good treasure in the bottom. You could actually go for, so, of past victims. Yeah, does that make sense? So you actually have a trap room which is really valuable, but which has like, I was going to say, cut the illusion there. Have its illusions and pits. There's illusions covering pits, but as soon as the players work that out, they're going to start trying to trigger the pits.
You want to do the what is it? S1. I'm reminded of I think Tomb of Horrors, which has a very cruel and unusual way of progression where you have 2. The first time, basically, you barge through a door, there is like a trap with poison spikes, and there's another one that maybe you won't see coming, and the third one you'll definitely 100% suspect that the trap is there, and then the dungeon progresses through that pit. I'm not suggesting that we do that. I'm suggesting you put any treasure, you put that in the 3rd pit trap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, not like the first one, but what I mean is, if you set it up so players start feeling like they have to trigger the traps, or at least the smart players like, we should try to just identify these pits, then some of them will start thinking, if we know where they are, let's open them, which will mean they get the treasure.
I mean, and ideally also, right, like the idea is that in this case you set it up so that, okay, whatever, maybe there's some hint or riddle to the statue that allows players to figure out where to go, and there's a couple of directions. So if you put treasure in the pits, which is like a dead end, then this should be incidental. It's like a little bit of a nice bonus.
This is a past victim. It's not like been placed there. It is like an adventure. Yeah, there's like 6 I don't know, there's like 6 torches that last twice the distance length, and there's a an oil and kind of a quiver which has been oil wrapped, and so has 20 sheaf arrows or stuff.
It could be it could be
useful extra things.
Sure.
And we don't need to determine that exactly.
The point is that it's not. It's not that much. But I mean, we can use, what is it, table 5? Just treasure without monster.
So there's that's
Appendix A, random dungeon
in Appendix A. Sorry, I was actually on a different set of character treasure.
Is there a multiplier when you use this this thing, by the way? So I can imagine it, depending on what level of the dungeon you're on, you have to multiply the treasure somehow. How does this work?
I don't know. As I say, I have used it, but I'm not sure if I've thought about that, which indicates my stupidity. I understand. Table 5, unusual shape. Which chamber room contents? Table 5F. Treasure is guarded by.
It's definitely not guarded. We know that.
No, it's not guarded because he's dead. The guy.
Correct.
Without monster, it's multiplied by level. So yeah, that without monster, it would be.
Let's do a D100.
Yeah, I was going to say it will be the equivalent of something like 3,000 silver pieces worth of equipment. Would be the treasure. If we take that. Yeah. Now that's equivalent. That will not be in silver.
Yeah, you're looking at a total of 150 GP worth of stuff. So like armor and a weapon would do. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something where you can have it. You can give a reason. You can give a plausible reason here why it's not all rusted. It can either be recent or it can be preserved in some way. Like it's crystalline armor. It counts as chain or something. Like a mesh of crystals the
Or
council's change.
it's a recent it's a
indeed,
yeah, there's a couple of ways to do it, but it's fine.
So for this one on the monster side, I rolled a 34 on monster level 4, which is 34 is either Ghast, Violet Fungi, or Subterranean Lizard for a monster encounter on this side book. In terms of as another kind of misleading trap-like area.
Okay.
What do we think?
How's about yeah, let's go for ghasts, and then let's see. It should lead
By the
into
way, one of my
some
favorite
maybe like
things,
a maze-like area, and you put some ghasts there. It would work.
And you obviously, by the way, you tell the players they do not have to map it, but that it will take X number of turns. There's some basis on which they take that many turns to work out. They should, if it's maze-like, you shouldn't make your players map it.
I'm not sure if we have to go that involved, but or just a. I mean, I guess
4
a
ghasts.
forlorn-looking area, maybe a partially collapsed chambers or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's something that partially collapsed. And there are
still
4
have
ghasts.
You have some columns and that sort of stuff there as well.
Yeah.
Alcoves,
so yes,
columns.
Muktuk is asking. That's a relevant question. Just repeat for those coming in. 3rd to 5th level Muktuk. So our starting encounter was gargoyles, which is off the 4th level table. So we're using for our randomly generated monsters stuff off the 3rd to 5th levels, and we're obviously allowed to not use any of it if we don't want to. It is inspiration, not mandatory. So yeah, ghasts have a bunch of treasure types. B is a layer type. The rest is all individual. So what do we want to do with that?
Let's see. They probably shouldn't have that much, but I don't know. Do we treat it all as layers? I guess we could, but then it would be more like wilderness. I think it's fair in a dungeon. Especially if they're groups, you probably should treat them like that.
Well, as layers, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Well, I would tend to, unless there's a straight wanderer, we should discuss, probably not immediately, we probably want a couple more rooms on this, but we should discuss whether we want a wanderer's table, because there are reasons you want wanderer's tables, obviously.
But stock it first, and then we can
That's
see.
What I mean, and then you get the logic of what's there. Yeah. Sometimes it's going to be the other way around, that you'll be like, okay, I just want this thing wandering, but often you're picking the monsters who live here before you do that. Okay, so copper. There is copper. I think the thing is the copper should just be a ton of crappy copper all over the place. That the players are going to be like, do we
I was thinking you go in there, right? And then there's what is it? Maybe a sacrificial fount, or no, it's not called a sacrificial fount, but I mean, you know temples better than I do, right?
Yeah, I'm involved in many dark temples.
That's right. You go in there, and you see something, glimmering in the distance. You're like, oh, it's gold, but no, wrong. This is mere copper.
1,000. It is 1,000 copper.
That's right.
Yeah, on collapsed altar.
It's in the or in the what is it in the like in a basin or something like that, right? Where you wouldn't be able to, right? And then in the meantime, actually the whatever.
Thanks, Jay. It's good to have you as always.
Still dressed in whatever tattered finery or something like that.
Yes, yeah. So, and I think actually I've rolled no other treasure. That's funny. That's good.
Yeah.
As I've the rest of it was all 0%. This is just rubbish. This place is bad. You go in here, you have to fight 4 ghasts. You're searching around. You could always add stuff like risk cave in. I don't think we do. I think it's actually a good enough room as it is.
Owen, can you excuse me for one moment? I'll be right back.
Is that the police? Have they been reading Prince's posts? Sounds like it. So yeah, I was saying I think, dear audience, that this is probably a cruel enough room without adding another risk, another trap or trick. The way we've randomly rolled it, we've rolled Ghast. They had a chance of getting magic armor, but nothing else came through other than the copper. And I think Prince's idea that this is just on this altar, and you go there thinking it might be good, and you spend time maybe even starting to gather it before you realize it's worth nothing. It's essentially trash. So because it's worth. I mean, I said it's worth what 5 gold, is it? It's trash. You shouldn't get it. And I think that Now we want to make sure you make up for that elsewhere, that there's good stuff elsewhere. But it's okay if this room is rubbish, because there's a riddle here which should be leading the players into thinking. I was just explaining some of my thoughts on that, Prince. But the riddling statue, and it should be a simple riddle, by the way. Riddles should generally be easy for players to engage with. Not always, but yeah. If it's a really core important thing, they can be harder. But for the starting, you need it to be easy. But if the players have picked a room which is bad, then it is okay if it's rubbish and they come in here, and they don't get very much. But but yeah, probably doesn't need to be any crueler. Muktuk says, subbing copper out for big heavy things of the same value. I think that's actually not a bad idea often, because as we've said, the value, you can quite reasonably just turn it into items. In this case, I actually quite like the idea. It is the altar with like a skeleton with some heavy rotten robe next to it, in this half collapsed room inhabited by ghasts, and there's just 5 gold worth or whatever it is, or 10 gold depending on your system, of garbage there. I think that's okay. We want to make sure we're generous elsewhere. I was saying to the audience, we want to make sure our main routes are good, that they lead to stuff that people like. But it's okay that so far they found some okay stuff in the bottom of a pit and some rubbish in this one. And there is a locked room which has good stuff in it, but is wizard locked or whatever it is.
I take it also because this is like a trap room, right? Is there any particular way the guests try to attack? Because they would try to go for an ambush, right? You get drawn to the fount, or like whatever, some prominent piece of like heavy, maybe hard to move, actually not that valuable treasure, and then like
like the copper and the fount itself. I mean the ghast could be like buried inverted commas in earth near that, could just where they layered near the fount. So you start doing this and then just dust covers you as the ghast jump you.
See, they have to jump out of the earth.
Well, they're just I mean, I think that's fine. Like they're not having to tunnel out. They're just kind of under. They're supernatural, disgusting corpse eaters. They're just in some way covered by. They're in the rubbish bit. They're kind of camoed. What do you think?
Let's see. We could do it like that. I mean, ghasts are reasonably smart, I guess. I'm thinking of a way where also their rotting, sort of their stenchability, would be optimized the most.
No, good. That's good.
How do you feel about
intelligence? Remember, for ghast is ghasts are very intelligent.
So how do we feel about? I'm thinking some sort of primitive pit trap, even in front of the
when the pack attacks, they do carry attention 10-foot radius, which causes retching and nausea unless save us poison is made, and that's -2 onto hit. They attack as a ghoul with regard to paralyzation, and it affects elves as well. So there's only 4 of them, so it's not an insane number. It is worth saying you're not kind of for an 8-person party, they will have the advantage. This is the thing: the ghast are attacking because they want to eat them.
How about so again, you would have a fount full of treasure,
copper.
And then maybe some sort of it would be actually valueless copper. Then maybe like a pit trap in front of it, and you put 2 ghasts inside the pit trap, and then 2 others are actually hiding, in the columns or something like that, or maybe amidst the rubble.
2 of them, 2 amidst the rubble / columns, 2 in the pit trap. I mean, Muktuk, this is a fair point to do with something which has an environmental effect. You could curtain off part of the room. You could have tattered curtains on either side of the fount, or whatever you want to call it. And they're tattered, they're rotting, they're not in good condition, right?
Yes.
And they smell. But one thing that players may get wrong is, do you know what else smells? The statue. We rolled a dungeon dressing thing and it was dank and moldy. It now smells of just rotting flesh in here. Everything here is horrible. Maybe players don't think about it. Maybe they do. Maybe they say, I don't like this. They're just in front of the pit trap. They smell stuff because that's when they're going to be 10 feet away, is just in front of the pit trap.
That's good. Yeah.
If you think about the dynamics you're going to have in terms of squares, think about it like squares. You've got the fount, you've got the pit, you've got the 2 things next to the pit and the fount, and you've got the players at 10 feet right before the pit. You're actually incredibly kind as a DM. You say, when you get to about 10 feet before this thing, you start to smell some kind of charnel house smell.
Right.
some players just charge on in. They're like, oh, okay, must be some rotting corpses nearby. Other players go like, wait a second, and start. And it allows you to make a distinction. Players can distinguish between skill and idiocy.
Correct. Sounds like a good room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next
yeah.
room.
No, I think that's a strong room. You could, by the way, spin that off in your own dungeon. That's also a room that that's a nice thing. You could just like, I'm going to have that in my dungeon. I think. So yeah, we've done our trap rooms. We've done our. We don't need to worry about. There's some good treasure in the locked room. We don't need to worry about that, do we? There's like the long corridor, which is the time wasting room, that just takes up time. One thing, of course, time wasting. Even if you were saying about continual light, depends on levels and who has what levels. And what they have. One, there's still the issue of distance. You're going to be spending the time. But two, remember, you're resting 1 every 6 turns. You're spending a certain amount of time in the dungeon. Your dungeon day is being taken up on that. And you play that quickly, by the way. You don't waste your players' time. You waste their characters' time by saying, yeah. And then you should be tracking that. I track dungeon time anyway. I'm a monster. I understand.
Well, yeah, it's also just more chances for random encounters, more
Once we have an
expenditure
encounter
of light
table,
sources is fairly trivial, I find. But
yeah, yay and nay. I think you find that it adds up if they don't have lots of stuff. I think if they have magic weapons and some magic items that are enchanted or whatever else, it becomes less of a problem. Yeah, absolutely. But then time still matters, and time matters way up the levels. Yeah, sure. When you're starting to bamf through with pass wall, it matters less. But when you're having to explore manually a multi-level dungeon potentially, then it matters, I think. Okay, so we've got three exits going off. What we should probably do on what I'll do is I will switch sheet for a second. We've got 3 entrances going off. Kind of at this point, we have that. I'll put that. Here's the entrance. There is. That's that. Then there's a door here, and then there is another octagonal sort of shaped room here. This is what we've just done. And then there is a dead end here, a dead end here, more or less dead end, a dead end here.
You're using a smaller. You're mapping smaller now.
Yeah, I am. Basically, this is because we have 3. What I'm trying to do here before we return to the main sheet is what is going to be the kind of. Do you see how we have 3? I know that is obviously small, but that's because I need the space. There's 3 lines going off basically, very unartistically, and so what is going to be the wider shape, as in that we are already at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rooms technically. So we only need to do 13 more for our challenge, and we're at an hour, so we're on time for this. I think we can do this. Not in every detail, but I guess we don't need to. It doesn't need to be. What I mean is the dungeon doesn't need to be like this big, does it?
No,
because this is 1 level. It can always go down. We could always be like, oh, now you found the kind of.
We gotta hurry it along. We have 30 more rooms.
Yeah. But I'm talking about the general shape.
You don't need to. You don't need to consider the shape so much.
But as in, how far are these connecting? That I think that's a personal question because you need to know roughly what the likely routes through are.
We have 13 left.
13 rooms left. Yeah.
Doing in nodes of like make 3 nodes, 5, 4, and 4, and then make some interconnecting passageways. Wait, actually do 5, 4, 3, and then I guess you would have 1 single room. No, that's also 5, 3, and 2. Yeah, and then we would
5,
have
3, and 2.
Yeah, and then we would have a few rooms to the side. And these
exactly, like sub areas that unlock.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, you've got 5, 3, and 2 rooms, and then are these any of these connecting back to themselves, or they're just nodes on their own? They don't connect back to each other.
The nodes are connected to each other. Yeah.
So yeah, like this. So 5, 2, 3.
Like that. Sure.
And they're connected. And then you can have. Did you say 2 rooms? 2 rooms coming off that.
Yeah, and then you have 2 more rooms that maybe like 1 you can only access through like exactly like through there, and then exactly something.
So no, that's good enough. At this point, because what you will tend to find, I certainly do, is you will sometimes spend time, obviously, Yeah, great. I was going to say, yeah, we got about 25 minutes. I think we're doing tonight, aren't we? 25 more minutes.
That's right.
So let's see what we can do. Yeah, what I was going to say is that you're going to mess around with all the corridor connections between these big nodes anyway. Anytime you draw a map, you are going to mess around so much with like, oh, it doesn't really make sense they're connected, or no, I really want to give players an option to bypass that. And in a first draft, you're not worrying about getting that perfect, are you? In the first draft, you're trying to get down rooms and ideas and general themes. So what we want, probably, I suggest, is we want these nodes to have a theme each. This node is gargoyle. That theme is gargoyle. It is stone. Is this like an elemental chthonic god who has like all four elements, or is he all earth and stone?
We won't know until we roll the random encounter.
Yeah, we're going to roll the dice.
That's right.
Yep, cool.
If
In
you
that
want to
case,
if you want to get really funky, you can also just use the. Doesn't the Fiend Folio also have dungeon tables?
MM2 does. Should I roll on MM2 then?
Yeah, or Fiend Folio maybe also has. If you want to make it extra funky with way more choice, you can use Fiend Folio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no. Does the folio have sheets? I thought it was just the MM2. I think it's MM2.
You can use MM2.
Dungeon so MM2. Here we go. You got to know your tables. There we go. Dungeon random monster encounter tables for that. Okay, so it's I'll roll the D20 and then I'll give our three options again for the next one. Muktuk, so it's 6. Muktuk does suggest rolling on the Arduin tables.
Oh man,
6 is.
I'm going to do it right now.
Yeah, no. 6 is ochre jelly or and it can owlbear or Minotaur. Owlbear, we're not going to use owlbear. We could use ochre jelly and Minotaur. Both fit the kind of feel of this place, I think. You could have like the node of the jellies and the node of the bulls, also like node of the labyrinth or something. I don't know. What do you think?
I like the idea of doing I think that was also called a special where you have 2 monsters at once. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we have one of our nodes is what 3 rooms or something like that.
Yeah.
4. Yeah, I think I like
5,
the idea.
3, 2.
Okay, so we have to think. An ochre jelly is not an intelligent creature, right?
No.
So it's sort of like mindless. So presumably, if the Minotaur, if they're in a combined encounter, then the Minotaur is using it somehow, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's got it set up so it can use it without itself getting getting fucked up by the ochre jelly. What does an ochre jelly do, Owen?
I've fairly recently even used one. It's it has pseudopods, and
it's like just like any other ooze, and it's just difficult to hurt, or does it have like some sort of mind control capabilities, or just difficult to hurt?
Is that I'm just checking where we're under, like as in what jelly mustard. Okay, it's an one then, isn't it? Let's go to j for jelly. No, let's go for O for ochre, I guess. Or is it Fiend Folio? I don't know.
It's not.
No, it's MM. They're kind of giant to me, but they sleep under dungeons hunting for any form of flesh or cellulose to devour. They far prefer the former. They can flow through small spaces. They can travel along walls or ceilings with ease. The fluid secreted by the creature's dissolved flesh. Striking the ochre jelly with lightning bolts simply divides the creature into one or more smaller creatures. Cold and fire-based attacks have normal effect, so they are lightning resistant. Basically, they're a trick on lightning. So
that's right.
It's D3 ochre jellies, 2 ochre jellies, and then we want to find out how many minotaurs there are. It might just be the one. It could be D8. If it's a high number, of course, this suggests a kind of small layer, doesn't it? No, it is 1. 1 big minotaur, probably. You can, as in, have a big tough minotaur
that is now inhabiting the remnants of this. These places.
So these are probably people these are creatures who have wandered in. They may actually still accidentally serve the chthonic entity of crap, but they don't realize they do.
Make the whatever the Minotaur is a creature of evil drawn to the worship of this chthonic deity, and the oozes would be maybe are just basically nuisance vermin drawn to it. But if it's an intelligent creature, maybe it can use those oozes somehow to maybe distract the party. Or
I was going to, well, there's two ways. One is that he either can in some way placate the users, like he has like an amulet of create food and drink or something. I don't know, or he has something which can control oozes. I don't know, or at least
can oozes climb?
They could. Ochre jellies can. They can climb on the ceiling.
Okay,
so
all right.
You can't. Yeah, I thought the same. So Muktuk, Minotaur with the pet owlbear. Well, we've gone the same route, to be fair. Minotaur with pet ochre jellies, and Marcelo, one of our regulars, comes in. Hello, Marcelo. Marcello. Correct. Yeah, is it Ch or S? In your case. Big Mit. So, how is the Minotaur not being eaten by the jellies? Is it that they fear him? Is it that he has an item associated with the chthonic entity? I think that has to be it, doesn't it?
I still feel that there's probably there's something we're missing. It's probably a smart way how you can just insulate yourself from risk. Is there something that they can't dissolve?
Yeah, there probably is. Doesn't say so. I mean, cold and fire damage do well, so it could just be that he dwells inside. He just makes loads of fires and lives inside the fires. Like it's a ring of fire.
Inside fire, huh? No, I don't think so.
No, I'm telling you what the monsters can do. That's what the monsters can do. So right. That's why I lean. So it could be just he has an unholy symbol. Muktuk is going for the create solution. The Minotaur traps them.
Right. I throwing what is it? Throwing large ceramic like vases full of ochre jelly seems to be pretty.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yes, he's trapped them and he uses them as grenades. Jellies. Obviously, this is a Minotaur, so it's not like a small grenade. It's not like a hand grenade. It is like a vase, like you said. It's like a big vase that he just and he throws the amphora at people who are attacking his lair.
And then he has a few fake ones as well. They're actually just filled with nonsense.
I would say there is something genuinely really fun about that as an encounter idea. Players are going to remember the Minotaur who's like pretending to be a priest of this god. Obviously, he doesn't have any powers. He's just some guy. He's worshiping the entity here. And then when you come in, the first thing he does, I also can you negotiate with him? Is this a reaction check? Do we think? And if so, what does he want? Well, so in that case, if he hates you, he throws a jar at you. If he likes you, he'll ask you to go to a different node to get something. Right? That's really the gimmick.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know. Minotaurs always seem to me like a sort of cursed, misshapen creature. So living alone.
Maybe he wants a gargoyle statue, but from a particular place. Like he's seen a gargoyle with the face of a bull, and he wants the bull statue.
Well, maybe some other node would work. Yeah, maybe he hates one other inhabitant of this dungeon and will actually reward whoever slays it with his treasure. You can do that.
Muktuk, behold power of chaos, throws jar full of goo. Yeah, this is the goo node.
We should emphasize how disgusting this section is and how much it stinks. It's true.
Well, that's the thing. They've already been to one stinky place. I think the idea that there is one of Huso's hells. I don't know how many of you've read, but one of them, the basic torment in the place where the greedy guy lives, it just smells and it's disgusting. And I'm like, that's such a realistic option. So, let's generate his treasure. That was the other thing. That's really the next job for him, and then we'll move on because we've got this node. This node is going to have you can detail it later, but it's going to have an empty room. The kind of thing it's going to have an empty room. It's going to have some kind of sub room. It's going to have where the Minotaur lives. It's going to have the altar. 32. So C, he does not have copper. He does have silver. He does not have platinum or electrum. He doesn't have gems. Rolling
I feel
badly today
whenever you
for
use these
stuff.
tables, you get screwed so hard.
Yeah. No, so he currently has silver. He would
Oh
have.
no.
So he's not going to have much silver. So we need to supplement that. He's going to have 100. So he's going to have 50 gold or 100 gold, but worth of stuff, isn't he? So that is his personal stuff. But we should probably add something else that is not his treasure. We need to add something which doesn't need to be to do with him. He can just have garbage. He doesn't have to have very much, but maybe there's something left over, maybe
Well,
hidden in
if
the
this is
area.
if this is like a, I don't know, former priestly quarters or something like that, it could
Mm-hmm.
always be
You know?
there could always be a statue with gemstone eyes, or it could be
Mm.
maybe a mural that's again still inlaid with some
Mm.
precious metals. You could even just go even more baroque, as if they have to. If it's a wonderful mural, maybe they can remove it. That sort of stuff.
Yeah. Mark Tuck said, fancy robes from the cult. I like the idea. What's something that the Minotaur might not have wrecked or done something to is
Well, you
if
could
there
always have
is.
his.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, go for it. You go for it.
Okay. Now, well, I imagine it then like it sleeps in a huge pile of just again any soft stuff it can kind of like find,
Yeah.
right? Like a huge insane child, and then you would have like maybe one or two of these curtains. There would be like one of these roll-out carpets. There would be robes in there. Most of it would be just ruined and covered
Yeah.
in terrible substances. But like if you start digging in, and maybe you find maybe there's like a silk robe that's like still intact that made it out, or like even a cloak of elven kind, right? Like you can
I
put
think.
something
Yeah.
like that.
I was going to say. Yeah. I was going to say something magical. Basically, is probably the thing.
Yeah.
That therefore survives the Ordia cloak of elvenkind, and an unholy symbol of silver. I think that's actually viable too, isn't it? That doesn't need to be in the same place. That could be somewhere else. Like that could just be in one of the other rooms. If there's 3 rooms in this node, that could be left over in the altar, but it's just hidden behind something. Now, of course, players may not find any use for an unholy symbol of silver, but that's up to the players to
Could
decide, isn't
always
it?
sell it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he has 1,000 silver worth of stuff, and there is a cloak of elvenkind and an unholy symbol of silver. Is the cloak of elvenkind elf-sized, human, as an elf and human-sized, or is it smaller? Is it
Oh yeah,
larger?
that's right. Oh, well, this is you could even determine that
You
when
can,
you uh, when
you
you
can
find it.
generate
I
it.
I generally don't. Yeah, that's fine
Yeah. Well, I mean, it matter. It turns out to me. We'll say it's man-sized for now. Again,
for sure.
I think having some stuff. One thing is knowing the kinds of players you have and the kinds of characters that exist. I'm quite happy to design stuff where there's some cool items those characters will like if they find them. So it can always be that you're like, oh yes, there is like a halfling thief. So I will put a halfling sized cloak of elvenkind in there. You could reasonably do that.
True.
Because there are such things in the world. You're not breaking the rules of world building to do that. Okay, we can start node 2, can't we? We'll see how far we get.
Okay, sounds good.
Do we want Monster Manual or Monster Manual 2 for generation?
Monster Manual 2 on this one.
Yep, and then node 3 could always be back again, couldn't it? Okay, it's gonna be like one of the freakier things. Okay, we're D20 is a 12. So that could be large spider, poisonous toad, giant spider. Is this the land of the spiders?
Oh yeah. Okay. All such variety. Okay, some variety of spider. We had large spiders
And I think giant spiders as well.
just make it giant spiders.
Yeah. I mean, you can do both, as in this is this, and it depends. Is this the 5 node or the 2 node? Do we think?
Didn't we already use that one, the 5 one for
No, that was the
Minotaur?
Minotaur. The Minotaur
Oh,
was the
are you
3
sure?
node. I think we said
That's
said
fine.
the 3 node.
Okay,
So
5.
it's 2 or 5.
Okay, a 2.
We could always have this be a small node. This could be the 2 node.
2 if you have one. If you've done one spider encounter, you've done all of them. No,
Yeah.
it's okay, all right. You want to get fancy, or do we say, listen, it's like I don't know. We think about it. is it a storeroom covered with webs? Fuck 2 spiders in there. See if there's anything
No,
of value. Move on.
I think you can go bigger. You can have this. You can, because it's it's a two node. It can either be triangular. Remember, so the two node can either be triangular, coming back to the corridor, or it can be direct. Essentially, it can be direct. What you could do is have the players just come through here, and they find it is really dusty. They'll see some webs and stuff, but they don't necessarily need to see enormous webs, because these are high corridors, right? They're high corridors, so they're 80 feet high. Again, they're really high. They come to the end, and there is an altar of the chthonic entity, the altar of the spider. It's the chthonic entity as a Spider-Man. And he's got like red and blue and black symbols. But he's disgusting. Like, he's disgusting Spider-Man. If the players try to go back without making an offering appropriate to Spider-Man, they're attacked by spiders who live up on the walls.
What would a Spider-Man even want, Owen? What would they want?
Great responsibility. Great responsibility.
Yeah. Okay. Great power. But
yeah, but yeah.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say. So yeah, you can have great something of power. If you sacrifice something of power, you get like. I was going to say, not even a stupid idea. We'll come back to that Muck Tuck in a second. But great, it could be an item of power. So if you put a potion or something on it, anything magical could be an acceptable sacrifice to the aspect of the spider, and then you get a power of a spider. Like,
that's too obscure. You can't. They're not going to figure that one out. It should either be a Spider-Man reference, or it should be something that
great power. Well, no, you can even have it in text. You can say, great power gives great. I don't know, something like that. You can work something like that out. But yes.
Okay, the idol has the inscription: "With great power comes great responsibility." And you go, "What? Okay, what do we do then?" Like, anthropomorphic Spider-Man god. Okay, fuck it.
Yeah.
But
yes, something like that.
So this is idol. How do you interact with it then?
Muck Tuck also suggests flies. It could be as simple as that. Remember, there's loads of disgusting places around here. Maybe you just bring loads of death, like flies here. I don't know.
That is if it's just a normal spider idol. I don't mind that. Which one are you gonna do?
Muck Tuck says the responsibility could be you get a title, like you have dominion over spiders, so plus the reaction roll of spiders or limited charm for spiders. Like, if you sacrifice something the responsibility is a good one, not a bad one. Give great power, get great responsibility.
I think we should ditch this. We're making it too complicated. No. I like the idea of an idol where you have to perform some sort of action. If you screw up, then the whatever.
Yeah, the spiders attack.
Are,
So what kind of attack? What kind of action does it want to grant you? Web or spider climb or something?
I would say actually flies is a little gross. Ooh. But actually, why not? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Put giant flies elsewhere in the dungeon.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, no. I was going to say no. Yeah. So flies or die is basically the option, isn't it? I mean, you can fight. Level 3 to 5 can fight and defeat the spiders. That's fine. But the point is, the spiders will ambush you on the way back. Now, of course, if you're suspicious of the high corridor, you might work out something to do with lighting that high corridor and find out the spiders there anyway. That's fine. But okay, so that's a nice simple one. It has a nice simple interaction. It has a nice simple penalty and benefit. And that doesn't need necessarily to have any other treasure in it, because it has an inherent treasure of giving you you can gain some kind of power. I don't know. You could gain web or spider climb or both. Marcelo does actually suggest that it should be you're shooting webs from your rear. Like, it's a Lamentations adventure now.
The ability to use web like a scroll or a spell-like ability a couple of times, but you have to use it within 24 hours or it dissipates.
Yeah, you're using it whilst you're in this dungeon. Otherwise, you have to come back and give another offering.
Obviously,
you have to keep
if you're running LOTFP, it's shooting from your ass. That's of course. Yes, it is.
Okay, so we've got like 2 minutes or something like that, or 5 minutes.
We can make that happen.
We can come up with one. We can come up with one more node. What's the we'll go back to the monster manual here. DMG. not monster manual. 27, which can be character. Oh, that's character. We'll reroll that because that's character. That's very similar to what it was. 32 is dragon.
Character is fine, I guess.
No, well, yeah, I was going to say I'm giving the whole range. This would be dragon, ghast, and subterranean lizard. So that's do we want more gargoyles? Do we want characters? Do we want a dragon? Do we want?
I want a subterranean lizard. I want part of the temple complex to have sort of
sunk,
caved in. Yeah, exactly. And then I want maybe an underground river. I want a nice cave lizard. Then I want what is it? I want connections to other, like leading off into other parts. At least 3 others.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say this is also the 5 node with 5 rooms, so that fits it because there's the most options for getting extra stuff in. Like rather than just like, oh, this is one thing or the other, it can be everything, can't it? Because it can lead back to other places. It can have a couple of sub rooms. It can obviously, you can reference X1 if you want, as a little inside joke. But yeah, you have to physically chew cobwebs in person if you want to use it outside the dungeon. If you're chewing cobwebs, your character gets web 1 a day outside the dungeon.
Permanent web 1 a day is too much. I don't mind the idea of
but what if you have to chew actual cobwebs in person?
What?
So as a player, you have to bring the. This is Lynch's idea.
To put it in your mouth.
This is Lynch's idea.
Okay. Well,
like, don't blame me. This is a great idea from Lynch, friend of the channel.
Okay. Well, the so-called friend. All right.
So-called friend of the channel.
No, but yeah. I mean, let's have part of it start off as like natural rooms and then like what a collapse. I always miss this in some dungeons that there's not enough natural hazards, so there's not enough exploration in the exploration part. So if you would have a series of areas that are like, again, sort of like collapse into a, like, I don't know, what is it, a cave system or a series of tunnels or what have you,
this
right?
would this be the way down to the next level then? As in, this would be a natural way
say, like, you can even do 2. You can have like if it's bisected by some sort of river, you could either follow the river or you could cross it, and then maybe there's an extra, beyond it, maybe there's a few other like areas that are still intact. That would, and the river itself would provide passage into other areas. Do it like that.
So yeah, you can do multiple things here. You can have this both link to other areas in the dungeon, so it helps link the nodes, and it can link to a lower level, other level, and it can link to other regions. An underground river, that could be an Underdark river. It could eventually just keep descending and descending, and you go to the Underdark. If you get on a boat, it turns out to be a navigable river down to the great Swerf Neblin city. That that kind of thing.
Right.
But that's. And doing stuff like that, players very rarely pick those options, but when they do, because they're like, players are like, this is scary. But you let them take a punt, and they're like, oh yeah, that was cool. So yes, you can do that, and you can always give some clues about that if you want. But yeah, the point is here, the level itself, we're giving options out of the level, but the level itself links back to other parts, and the node has surviving areas. Are they all overrun with subterranean lizards? Is this where the flies are?
It's
presumably like where there are some flies.
I don't know. You could put a giant put a giant lizard in front of the river, and then you have the river as a barrier. And if you get across, maybe not. Actually, it's nice you get confronted with a natural hazard, so like the river, and then I don't know, whatever. If you decide to like cross or make your way across, then either like some shrine is still like
a shrine is there. I like the idea that all this stuff that seems bad, all the stuff that seems collapsed, I just think the chthonic entity likes that. Like, I think this is an entity of chaos who just like, great, everything's collapsing, this is the best thing ever. So
it's sort of like remaking it into its own to reflect its own entropic principles.
But yeah,
so you have to do something with the giant underground lizard, Owen. Mutant giant underground lizard.
Is the lizard the thing is the lizard the Minotaur wants to kill?
Ooh, it hates the lizard. That would
Yeah.
maybe work. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
there's like one really big. There's some other lizards. You can have some other normal subterranean lizards, and there's like an intelligent lizard who has like swallowed some artifact. It's not even a good artifact. It could be like, but yeah, the biggest lizard has swallowed an artifact that has
Should
somehow
be a
made it.
chaosy lizard, so it should
Yeah,
have many different colors and like a rooster
yeah,
comb and maybe two
yeah.
tails. Yeah.
And
Okay,
if you
fair
kill
enough.
it, the Minotaur hates it. The Minotaur probably doesn't know about the artifact. But
We
if you kill
we
the
haven't
lizard,
generated treasure yet, so we don't know how much copper it has.
how much copper does this lizard have? There is a problem. I'm not sure. Of course, like one thing is the lizard may not have good treasure. This might be an environmental treasure we're
But
adding because this is our
this is a
this.
nice lizard, so we get to pick its treasure type ourselves.
Yeah, a subterranean lizard would have OPQ times 5. Let's go and
Okay.
um,
OPQ.
yeah. So there could be some stuff there. I mean, this is small layer technique. O is copper silver, P is silver platinum, Q is gems. So we can check that certainly, and that's like loads of gems. The idea is you can have, but we're going to place a treasure as well. It just has a bunch of copper, silver, gold, and platinum and gems. So we don't need to generate that. That is already there. So it has some stuff.
How about that has been I don't
But
know if
what's the
we have
special item? I mean,
I'm not sure about the special item. I just imagine like all of the treasures like left there as like offerings or something, but we don't really have
yeah.
any
So that in the shrine
Yeah,
beyond, it's there.
yeah, maybe
The
this
whole
is how the
the whole room.
gargoyles
This
kind of keep it. They're
yeah.
like, okay,
No,
periodically they give it
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think
get a
the
little
node
verisimilitude
3
going
has to be
on.
really slimy. The disgusting feature of node 3 because it's lizards is
You,
that it's like
it's weird.
wet
You
and it's got
always
a river.
insist this with all of your dungeons that they have to be
Yeah, yeah.
slimy.
Everything has slime everywhere.
Yeah,
But
right.
you get the principle. Like it's something where each of these areas is disgusting or unpleasant in a different way.
Oh yeah.
And this area, everything is slippy and
That was my
nasty and
review of
gunky.
Great Britain when I went
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
went to it.
Everything here is nasty.
This is my
Okay,
TripAdvisor review.
let's generate a magic item and see whether we like it. It is so we can put a scroll in there,
Oh,
and then let's look at a misc magic item as well. There's 5 of these, so table 4. Okay, and then we'll see if we like this. This is 18. A mirror of life trapping.
oh, that rules.
Yeah,
That's fucking cool.
but here's the idea. This is what is in some strange way. It's been grafted into the lizard, or the lizard has swallowed it without being trapped in it, or something weird and nasty, which is
No,
what's turned it
I would
chaotic.
make the mirror of life trapping. I would make that like the sort of the artifact at the heart of like the shrine the lizard is guarding. But you
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
also again have to signal that that's
yeah,
bad.
yeah. Oh
But
yeah, I
it
know,
is cool
and
again.
it's
We
like
have a
and you've got it's a removal chart. You've got to work out how to remove it as well, haven't you? That's part of the thing with that.
That's another one where
Um,
you can have like a what is it? It's not quite a confessional booth, but like an alcove with
mhm,
a drape in front of it, and then they're like, okay, and you know maybe you have an inscription there as well, where you hint at that it might be
mhm.
bad, right? But then again,
Yeah,
in a mirror of life trapping, I don't know if that's in the description of the item, but you can
mhm,
have previous travelers in there as well, which you should also
mhm.
do. So you should have what's the
Yeah.
maximum number of life trapping guys? How many
How
life
many
trapping
life
guys are in
how
there?
many life trapping guys?
Who is
How
in
many
there?
life trapping? A mirror has 13 to 18 non-spatial. So it's D is 12 plus D6.
Right.
3, so
Yes.
15. Put a tarp over it so when the players draw it back they
Yeah,
get blasted.
essentially. Yeah, just a drape
Yeah.
in front of it. But it's like a
So
what do you call it? Uh it's
mm,
like you're revealing a relic, but the relic is actually this mirror of life trapping. This is where they um it's almost like a type of sacrifice, right? Like where you can like, oh, unveil the relic, and you will live with the gods now, or what? Maybe even like
yeah.
um, uh,
The,
as a priest, you know, you have like this idea of like you follow this seclusion, right? Like this
mm,
holy seclusion. You contemplate the mystery of the chthonic gods, so you're trapped in a mirror,
yeah.
never
You
aging.
have a lot of time to think about it.
Right.
The lizard is blind. giant chaos lizard is blind.
Yeah, or it's just not. It either instinctively avoids the drape, or yeah.
I think the idea that is blind but senses heat or something, like just some kind of, again, just give it a bit of a kind of a feel to the encounter, right? That you get there, you can, it's like a basilisk or something. Not in terms of ability, but in terms of like it doesn't need to see you to.
Okay. I like that. How many people do we put in the mirror? What if we put what if we fill it all up?
No, I think have
Wait,
15.
we need a few.
Have 15. Have 15 people in it. Yeah. Have it full, because remember it can keep trapping people.
Right.
Because it just kicks people out. So if a member of the party, and remember, it's a nice thing is because you're not attempting to kill the party, right? You just need to break it because all victims are freed. Usually, then to attack the possessor of the device is Gary's note. So yes, in the name of Zagig the Great, I command the occupant of the third cell to come forth. Is the sort of command word. But yeah, so the point is that the players go in. They may well get trapped. You think given that if they don't know what it is, there's a 100% chance of them having to make a save if they see it, right? So that's that. Probably one of them gets trapped. Then someone else pops out. We're not going to do this now, but this itself would be a really fun bit of adventure creation. Is coming up with 15 NPCs and monsters. Yes. NPCs and monsters, some of whom are good. Like there's like a paladin who has vital information to destroy this cult or something. You know, whatever. It doesn't really matter, but like that kind of thing. But also there's just like, I don't know. You could put the owlbear in there, and owlbear got lost. You can have some drow who have come up the Underdark River.
Yeah, I agree that figuring out all of the different NPCs would be hella fun, and of course, even hiding the command word for the mirror somewhere else in the dungeon, like some NPC knows.
Oh yeah, no, indeed. And you put that in a different. You put it in a different node as well. Oh, do you know what's in the lizard's stomach? Well, we're talking about the lizard has swallowed the key for the magically locked room, the wizard locked room.
And I like that.
It's a magic key, right? And it's chaotic, so hence why the lizard has become the mighty chaos lizard who leads the other lizards.
There we go. Okay, he was mutated by the
he's been mutated by the chaos radiation.
That's we want to take a page from GW.
Which
obviously we did several books, in fact.
I was going to say that there's a bit of inspiration here for this is the many aspects of Nurgle, isn't it? At some level, but no plague, just all the gross stuff, but not the plague itself.
No,
like the crap. This is the crap version of Nurgle.
No, but I don't know, the generic sort of like Knoni mutation-y stuff is all pretty good.
No, I think so. And I think that means that what you then need to add to this, what we'd need to add on a further time we did something, if we're writing this up, you need to work out the connections between the nodes, the rooms themselves and stuff, obviously. And there's a few things like the treasure in the good room, the kind of magical treasure room, which is also the storage room. Like that's presumably where there's some extra stuff there, some silk robes or whatever else. Lots of nice treasure that's intact for the priests is in there. And you get that by killing the lizard, which also the Minotaur wants, so it helps you both ways. But you have this particular gimmick in this final area of the Mirror of Life trapping. I think there's a bunch of good stuff there that you could do several sessions in here, I think. Even though it's 20 rooms, I think you could do at least 2 sessions, because there's complicated interactions. It depends on your session length, but yeah.
I don't know if I'd say, like, I'm not sure how well it all flows, but it was a cool ass experiment to see, like, okay, come on, how far can we get with just like I
was gonna say, I think there's not a super organic coherence to it.
Rules.
Yeah, there's not a super organic coherence where you're like, oh, this obviously flows into this in this way. Some of that you could iterate. You could just work on it, right? You wouldn't have to get that perfect on the first draft.
No, I think in the future probably probably drawing the map first might be might be the way
that's
to
another go.
thing
is if you decide the number of rooms, decide the number of rooms, doodle, just create your map. That takes longer, but if you do that, then you could then be like, this is actually, by the way, we talked about Dyson earlier. When you look at a Dyson map, one job you have when you see it's like 20 rooms is it has different areas. What's in each of those areas? Right, that's the kind of part of the challenge, and I guess that's what you're doing when you draw a blank map that doesn't have any content. But that means you can at least come up with more obviously organic connections up front. And you came up with one with this underground river, the idea that you create loopy-doopying through the dungeon, but via a hazardous path through the river.
Yeah, well, in general, I think these sort of if it's a dungeon level as part of like a greater area, then obviously you need connections like that. And
yeah, indeed.
Surprising connections are good too.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think, and I'd say content-wise. So yeah, I think organicity and map-wise, we're not there. I think that could be iterated, but I think content-wise, there's a bunch of really good ideas in there.
And if you're going to have a shrine where you give spider climb, then maybe elsewhere there's like a
a cliff
section or a shaft or something that
yeah, exactly.
normally
Yeah.
maybe you wouldn't think to go all the way down, but you go like, hey, why do
yeah.
we get spider climb at all? Oh, okay, yeah, let's try this.
And I definitely find that when you're writing stuff, I think it's something which you can get different erroneous schools of thought about what good dungeon design or world building are. What I mean is sometimes people are like, oh, everything has to be this kind of hyper realistic thing, and you're like, in that case, why would there be a random shaft somewhere else, and a spider climb thing? That's very convenient. Be like, no, it's nice. In the same way that you might place items that the characters might be interested in. Actually, it's something where you're like, as long as it fits the concept of the world, as long as it fits the logic of the world, it's actually just fun that they can explore somewhere they couldn't explore before. They can go to the secret level like they're doing a platformer. They're playing. It's a secret room in Tomb Raider kind of thing, because they've got the new technology.
Yeah,
and
of course.
yeah,
that stuff was in obviously has been part of the bread and butter of like dungeons, and I think there's obviously people have different preferences, but in general, some amount of like verisimilitude is definitely good, and you can have an X amount of red herrings, right? It doesn't always have to make
no,
sense. But I
absolutely.
think I like this idea of like that there's some underlying coherence to a lot of it is nice. It's why like
No, I
saying
agree.
a
I
monster
agree.
that's smart will use its treasure, right? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, and we've come up with that, like the idea of like, even when you're generating results, how do the results go together? So we gave the example of you generate ochre jelly and Minotaur as things that are in the area. Well, we came up with a Minotaur who is like in some way convinced he's a priest of the dark entity, or at least a kind of acolyte, and has like has used food to trap ochre jellies, which he now uses as like gigantic grenades. There's something very memorable about that. But also, you can negotiate with this guy, and he wants to go and kill this lizard. The lizard is hanging out near a mirror of life trapping, which leads you into a whole other set of things once you find it. It's a connection within the dungeon.
Right. Yeah.
And there's some stuff that isn't super connected, like the spider altar is just its own. Is by node, we just mean it's 2 rooms extra. We do have 2 more rooms we didn't generate, the 2 off to the side.
Yeah, but we don't have time. I gotta
No,
go.
we don't now. But the point is that's stuff. When you've got an individual room like that, you're thinking, I'd like to put an extra room in it. You can put anything in that. If you've got a cool idea that it doesn't have to fit into the rest. You can have locked rooms with secret stuff in. One of those is going to be a secret room, right? Isn't it? One of them is going to be X, whatever. But yeah. We'll wrap up now. We're obviously shorter than normal. We started a bit later than normal, and we need to finish prompt. So next time
ran late.
No, and it wasn't even a good game. The players were messaging me during it. They were like, "I hate this game. Why is it? I don't know why I'm playing it."
That's the messages your players message
to
you. Mine.
The worst thing is they're sending it to me. They're like, Owen, I hate Owen's game, and I'm like, but I am Owen. They're like, yeah, you are. It feels very, very kind of bullying. But yeah, so we will. We might come back to this kind of experiment in a future point. And next time we are probably doing a review. We'll decide what. I guess closer to the time.
For sure.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Comments and ideas in the comments. And how you would improve the dungeon. Yeah. And also what your methods for improving the dungeon would be. Put them in the comments, and we'll see you in 3 or 4 weeks. Say bye, Prince.
All right. Goodbye, Prince.
Goodbye, Prince.